Good morning. I'm reading from Hebrews 12, verses 1 to 3 in the New Living Translation. It's entitled, God's Disciplines Proves His Love. Therefore, since we are surrounded by such a huge crowd of witnesses to the life of faith, let us strip off every weight that slows us down, especially the sin that so easily trips us up. And let us run with endurance the race God has set before us. We do this by keeping our eyes on Jesus, the champion who initiates and perfects our faith. Because of the joy awaiting him, he endured the cross, disregarding its shame. Now he is seated in the place of honour beside God's throne. Think of all the hostility he endured from sinful people. Then you won't become weary and give up. For me, this scripture reminds me that I am surrounded by a huge crowd of fellow believers, this church, who I know I can always turn to for support and advice when I need it. But most importantly, to keep my eyes on Jesus, because Jesus is the one who has and will ultimately help me through anything and everything that life may throw my way. We all have our own cross to endure and bear, but Jesus has gone before us and will always be there to strengthen us when we need to persevere. Thank you.
For the mathematicians in the house, 41 is a prime number, but I'm going to challenge the concept of it just being a prime number today. Some of you may know of Ernest Shackleton. In 1914, he decided he wanted to go for a walk. And it just, in my Monty Python head, I think of they're sitting in a coffee lounge, him and his mate, and someone says, "Ernie, what are you going to do over summer?" He says, "I thought I'd walk across Antarctica." He says, "That's a good idea." So Ernest Shackleton decided he'd walk across Antarctica. No one had ever done that before. And so he handpicked 27 other blokes, and they set it off in a ship called the Endurance. He handpicked them because he knew there were going to be hardships. And in the hardships, he wanted people who could handle what hardships were coming. I don't think they ever saw what was coming, to be honest. They headed off and they were going to get to one side of Antarctica, walk to the other side, 2,500 miles across the ice. Didn't quite go that way because the ship got caught, the Endurance got caught in the ice and was trapped. And then the ice started moving and they travelled thousands of kilometres from where they intend to be, completely trapped in the ice. And after 10 months, the ice, as it does, destroyed the ship. It crushed it. They had to abandon ship and put up tents on the ice, and the ship disappeared. They stayed that way and they floated for another 5 months on the ice, and then the ice started breaking up. And it broke and it broke and it broke until they were marooned on one little block of ice, not the size of Riverside's block here. And indeed, the ice actually broke again and broke right through under one of the tents, and one of the blokes fell in the water. And had it not been for Shackleton being in the same tent, reached in and grabbed him out before the ice came back together and would have killed him. They decided they had to leave. So all they had with them were 3 7-metre boats, open whalers. They put 28 blokes and all the stores they could haul into those boats and set off 50 kilometres through the ice to what they knew was Elephant Island. And when they got to Elephant Island, Shackleton realised that they'd all die there. So he said, "I'm going for help." So with 5 other blokes, they got in one of these open boats and they sailed 1,200 kilometres across the Southern Ocean to reach South Georgia Island. I can't even comprehend how hard that was. And when they got there, they landed on one side, but the whaling station was on the other. They'd never mountain climbed before, but Shackleton and 2 other blokes climbed over the mountains in the middle of South Georgia and into the thing. It took another 4 months before they were able to be rescued. We were able to rescue the guys on South Georgia, on Elephant Island. No one in the whole world knew anything about their problem until about 3 months before it all finished, when word got to the Falkland Islands. I reckon they might have had a few challenges in that. They might have thought they're going to the south, but would you be happy sitting there thinking, we're probably all going to starve to death here? We're probably never going to get home again. You know, they handpicked blokes because they knew what they were in for. But we mere mortals, when our problems arrive, we don't have any pre-training. They just happen to us. And I just wonder, have you, anyone in this room, ever been through a period of great tribulation and trial? Wayne, put your hand down. Have you ever been in a situation where the water's coming over the gunnels of your boat and you can't bail fast enough and you think you're going to go under? There'll be many people in this room, either presently or in the past, are doing that. Have you ever just wanted to give up? This is too hard. I can't do this anymore. Let me tell you, you are not alone. You are not alone. Because I manage the Riverside Prayer Warriors, I get a lot of prayer requests. The stuff that goes out to the prayer warriors is filtered. I get a lot more information that comes through in order to write the prayer requests. And I can say, hand on heart, there are many, many people in this place or associated with this place that are in absolute Southern Ocean squalls, in storms. The waves are 80 foot high and coming over the deck. There are people struggling every day. And that's happening here right now. It's happened in the past. There are people who are grieving the death of loved ones. They're grieving the loss of relationships. They're grieving changed in world circumstances. They're grieving sudden medical things that have come up. They're changing life-changing events all the time. And you know what? That person might be the one sitting beside you. That person might be the person sitting behind you or in front of you. There are usually multiple things happen, one on top of the other, as we've found. And yet, despite the gravity of the event, many people can't share the drama they're caught up in. And there are many reasons for that. They might be just a very private person. They might have had past experiences where Christians have not done well with them. They might be ashamed of what's happened that's put them in that position. Might be they just don't want to burden other people. I know you've got enough trouble, mate. I won't load this on you. Well, they might just need to stay strong for someone else. I can't fall apart just now. I've got to look after someone. For some, the circumstances just seem beyond them. And we see manifestations of that. People start using substances to try and get their mind away from the dramas they've got. They might do acting out that's just really, really like bad behaviour. It might be that they're, they withdraw into themselves. And it might be that they think the only option they have is to end their own life. And I can tell you, I've been in all of them. On the surface, people in these situations might look perfectly normal. But you don't know what battles they're fighting. That person beside you, the person behind you, you don't know what battles they're fighting. They're in a private battle, but I'm telling you now, the wounds are very real. I've heard this song several times on the radio lately, on Christian radio, and I just want to read the words to it. It's a song by Jason Gray. Some of you may know it. All of you will identify with it. Brake light stuck on the highway. Some guy cuts in my lane. Anger like an explosion. I'm mad. And I make sure he knows it. But I don't know what he's been through, and I don't know what the family he's trying to get to. That's when the spirit inside me reminds me, be kind. Long line, just trying to check out. Behind me, a kid starts to act out. First thought, this kid wasn't raised right. Next thought, I wonder what their home's like. And then I see, she's a single mother, just trying to hold it together. She'd break down if she could afford to. So it wouldn't cost me any more to be kind. Because everyone you meet is fighting their own battle. So be kind. Storms are part of life. And they have been from the very beginning. In the Bible, we can read of multiple occasions where it's been clearly very difficult circumstances. And ones that sort of come to mind very quickly is David on the run from King Saul. Boy, if you want to hear about a travel across the desert story, Everywhere he went, he was getting hunted. And that went on and went on. How would that feel? The Israelites in slavery in Egypt. Don't give them straw, make them work harder. That went on for 400 years. The Babylonian exile. Don't take anything with you, you're gone. The persecution of the early church that we read about in Acts. That it really was hard time. The word, in case you don't know, you know where Roman candle comes from? The Romans used to tie Christians to posts and tip oil over them and then set fire to them to light the streets. Heavy persecution. In other places, we can gather from inference that things weren't so good. There's just a few references of where the writer of those books, the author of those letters, tells people to be strong, hang in there, persevere, press on. If there wasn't something happening, they wouldn't have bothered writing that stuff. It goes on and on and on. But knowing these challenges doesn't actually make it easier to go through them. It's great to I know they've had a bad day, but when you're having your bad day, it can be a really bad day. So it's very important for we, as Christians particularly, that we need to know what pause is about. We need to pause. I'm still learning to pause, and maybe you are too. But practicing the pause, I need to pause before I react to something. I need to pause before assuming something. I need to pause before accusing someone. I need to pause before reacting harshly. I need to pause before judging people. Because everyone you meet is fighting their own battle. That person could be beside you today. How are you at practicing the pause? I need all plates on constantly. Deborah can attest to that. When I pause and listen to the prompting of the Holy Spirit, I get put in my right place. And that right place is asking the question, what would Jesus do at this time in this situation? I need to make sure when I pause that I practice compassion rather than criticism, listening rather than lecturing, praying rather than showing piety, humility rather than the hostility, forgiveness rather than choosing to be offended by something. When we're in the middle of a storm, we also need to practice pause. We need to pause and just let Jesus hold us. He loves you right where you are, right how you are. You don't have to get right to get held by Jesus. You just have to be broken and want him to help you. We need to pause and lay all of our thoughts, the good thoughts and the bad thoughts, at the foot of Jesus. God, our Father, is a good, good Father. He wants to hear from you and he doesn't care what you say. He loves you. I need to pause and let others help me when I'm in trouble. So when people offer, there are 3 really important words we can say. Yes, please, thank you. Don't be too proud to ask for help. So pause and let other people serve you as you would serve them. And the most important one is pause and put on the full armour of God. Because the devil can't get his foot in the door if we're fully suited up for battle. Linda just brought this beautiful message to us, and it shows the whole structure of it encapsulated in 3 verses. Therefore, since we are surrounded by so great a crowd of witnesses, let us lay aside every weight and sin which clings so closely, and let us run with endurance the race that is set before us. Looking to Jesus, the founder and perfecter of our faith, who for the joy that was set before him endured the cross, despising the shame, and seated at the right hand of the throne of God. Consider him who endured from sinners such hostility against himself, so that you may not grow weary or faint-hearted. Don't carry unnecessary weight in battle. When soldiers go to fight, they don't carry their whole travel pack with them. Eat the whale a mouthful at a time. Small steps, big result. So if you've got a big challenge, just take it a mouthful at a time. Don't get overwhelmed by the size of the whale. You just eat a mouthful at a time. You know what? Sooner or later, you're going to end up with bones on the beach. That's all that'll be left. Keep your eyes on Jesus Christ. This is important. And keep your eye on the long game. You're in a storm at present. But that doesn't mean the storm will last forever. You might have the music team up, please. 40 is... I'm going to have to sneeze, right? 40 is a number that is regularly found in the Bible relating to major events. Can you think of any examples where 40 features in the Bible? 40 years?
40 days.
40 days for what? It rained for 40 days and 40 nights. Okay? Goliath taunted the Israelites for 40 days. Moses fled after murdering an Egyptian and ran away for 40 years. The Israelites wandered in the wilderness for 40 years. Moses was on the mountain for 40 days. Moses interceded for the Israelites for 40 days and 40 nights. The spies stayed in Canaan for 40 days. Elijah, escaping Jezebel, travelled 40 days and 40 nights. Jonah warned the Ninevites to repent because they were going to cop it in 40 days' time. Jesus fasted in the wilderness for 40 days. Jesus stayed with his disciples 40 days after the resurrection. In the Bible, when these 40 is set in this context, in the Bible it always associated with a testing, a preparation or a judgment. Every time. But it's always followed by a transformation. Challenge, transformation. Challenge, transformation. If 40 is the number of testing and judgment, then what I propose is that 41 must be the number for breakthrough. 41 isn't just a mathematically prime number. I propose that 41 is actually the prime number. And here's why. It rained for 40 days and 40 nights, but on day 41 the rain stopped. Goliath taunted the Israelites for 40 days. On day 41, he was dead at David's feet. The Israelites wandered for 40 years in the wilderness. In the 41st year, they entered the promised land. The spies were away for 40 days. On the 41st day, they reported a land flowing with milk and honey. Jesus was tempted in the wilderness for 40 days. But on the 41st day, the devil fled. Jesus stayed with his disciples for 40 days after the resurrection. On the 41st day, he sat at the right hand of God. If you feel like quitting in the storm you're in at present, please don't. You might be at point 39 and 41 is coming. You've heard it said on Good Friday, it's Friday, but Sunday's coming. It's 39, but 41's coming, folks. On day 41, for Shackleton, it was when he saw his 22 men that he'd left at Elephant Island lifted into the boat. Day 41 came for blind Bartimaeus when Jesus gave him his sight. Day 41 came for the man at the tombs when Jesus stepped out of the boat and into his life. Day 41 for Zacchaeus happened up in a tree. Day 41 for the bleeding woman happened when she touched the edge of his cloak. Day 41 for the woman at the well happened when she tasted living water. Day 41 happened to the woman caught in adultery when Jesus said, I don't judge you. And day 41 happened to any of us who are Christians when we ask Jesus Christ into our life. We might be in a storm today, but we were in a bigger storm then because we had no anchor points. Remember that on the 41st day, the storm will stop. On the 34th or whatever it is, the 41st, your giant's going to lay dead at your feet. And you're going to enter the promised land. It's only when the storm stops that we realise that we weren't on our own. The poem Footprints? When there's only one set of footprints, They're not yours. They're God's. He's carrying you. And it's only when we get to through the storm, we lean into Christ, we realise that Jesus has got one hand and our Father's got the other. There's no way we're going to fall over. We are being carried.